Good morning, everyone. It's October 13th, 2022. The year is flying by, as is the week. And we will be going over the Dow Jones freaking indices, a couple other stocks, and other things that we always do every day, 7 a.m. Eastern Time, Traders Exodus. We'll be giving a bit of our pre-market plan, give a little bit of my trade ideas and philosophies, talk a lot. I like to talk about trading psychology, life psychology, and overall general tools and tips for success. So welcome, and let's get into it. So I'm going to start today with a bit of a little trade overview, or review, I should say, from yesterday. So yesterday during our live session, which I'll still need to upload, I called, a long trade where I had a first entry right over here. And I was talking about our stop being down at 29,110, I think 29,100, and I was really trying to aim for us to get up into this area. And if you guys remember during session, I said maybe we could tighten up that stop to get a better RR, but then I said, never mind, let's just stick to the system. And so when we retraced and continued to push down deeper, I got in at the very bottom entry, got a nice RR. And I was watching, and as everyone should be while trading, I have to be aware and watching everything that's in front of you. Like, especially when it comes to these lower time frame trades, lower time frame being, sub hour. When you're looking at minute time frames, like the 15-minute, 5-minute, this is technically a 15-minute setup in my book. And, the way that we were approaching what would be take profit one had this been a trending market, we lost volume. And given the market conditions, given that if you look at our week, we have been accumulating in this range and really bouncing back and forth, I was not willing to continue to hold that position. And that's, I ended up getting out at like 29,450, which is right about right here, right there. And it ended up being a nice, for this final position, because I had such a tight stop, ended up being a 22R trade for the last position that I took. And that was fantastic. And then near the end of day, I ended up taking the short for my system right over here. But again, due to the way that the market was playing out and the way that volume was working, I was really taking and trying to get to 29,225 as a take profit. But the way volume was acting around here on the 5-minute, I ended up closing at 29,300 or 29. Was like 29? Yeah, 29,300. So it was all right. It was this was an all right trade and ended up being pretty good, but again, I could have done better. But overall, yesterday was a 27-hour day, and I didn't put too much behind these positions, but I made a good amount of money yesterday. I'm pretty happy. So that was good. And now it's to focus on what we have today. But I want everyone to note something, that yesterday's trade, while I did close at the top of that range, as what you should be doing in consolidating markets, the reality is that trade has not been invalidated. And until this point, at least according to my system, everyone has a different way of viewing the markets, a different way of trading. But for my system, until this area is violated, there's no reason for me to close the trade unless there's a reason to close the trade. And the reason for me, when I will make that exception as part of my system, is during ranging markets. Because I'm not going to take, a position and be up 20R and let it take me down to near break even. I'm not going to do that on a large position. Now, on a small runner, sure, but not on a trade like that. So, but as you can see, we're we've built up more volume and more momentum to really carry on this position. And so the thing that everyone should be aware of in what I identify and what I'm looking at, is that on our 4 hour, we had low volume drop, high volume push up. Took longs on this position. We didn't get to take profit one quite there. And then, I'll kind of draw out and illustrate what we've been doing. We took this long position as part of this overarching impulse. We took the retracement over here to get in, to kind of take advantage of that impulse. And, as part of the system, the real target, the real long-term target for the move is up here. I'm not going to keep going impulse after impulse because that starts to give away more than I already give out for free here. But this long move is still technically valid. And I believe that today we are probably going to be breaking through 29.6, we call it 29.650. And we've accumulated enough volume, I believe, to support the push up into these higher price points. And so I'm looking at the market and how this trade really could have been from a realistic perspective of how, if I had been doing more of a swing oriented play, but something that I hesitate on during a counter trend, especially considering, that I am in a very large short position from these points. So swinging a long position against my large short, not really something I'm keen on doing. But in retrospect, one of those things that is likely to work out, at least to 33.50. And if this move is the way that I think it's going to be, then I'll just illustrate the targets that I actually have set for the long swing position. And that really brings us close to where I have entered the majority of my shorts. I have a bunch of positions up here, but I closed a lot of them from that original point down in this range. So, I do see us going to around 32,300. And technically, as I mentioned yesterday, I could see us going even higher than that and still being long-term bearish. For me, a long-term bearish play is not going to be out of reach until we surpass 35,525. So that's obviously thousands of points away. But when we see consolidation is the building of liquidity. And you can see that we've had a lot of liquidity building. We had a lot of liquidity building this week, and we've built a lot this week. So, the liquidity building after a large push up, I think we're going to be continuing our moves to the upside, which is another reason why the short yesterday wasn't something I wanted to continue holding. Really zoom out, look at the big picture. If you have a large drop in accumulation range, probably going to be followed by further drops, which we've ridden those, but now we've had accumulation with large pushes up. And when you look at our daily structure, we've broken some moves. This is very reminiscent of this time period over here. And so look at structure, and structure tells us everything that we want to know. So I really am, potentially considering seeing this type of long move happen. Yesterday's entry would not have been yesterday's long wouldn't have been swingable in my book, but the trade from Tuesday, that was potentially a swingable trade. But I secured profits on that, and we'll just look at trying to make the most of what is left and try to milk this as much as we can. So I was not up for London session today. And so you'll see that I hadn't had this markup for this other zone, and we've had a strong reaction to it on the dot. I should have put a limit order, but I didn't. And it's okay. So this is, just how the name of the game. You have reactions and we watch for them. So to be safe, what you want to be looking for are kind of breakouts from areas of liquidity and really trying to focus on what the momentum is going to give us. Now, it's too late, in my opinion, to be entering along to have a very good RR unless you plan on swinging this. And even then, to get 3R, if you got in now and you got to stop like so, it's going to be a very long hold. And so that's not worth it in my book. And so the long from yesterday called during the webinar. Take profit 1 has been hit now. Again, since that trade has not been invalidated, no reason to close. The stop, theoretically, as I said, 29,100, letting it just run. This can be difficult for patients, but it must be done. And so we have a huge amount of volatility happening at 7:37, even though we don't have news right now for us specifically. So that is interesting. So now I'm starting to see things that I like to see during this hour, and this is why I have started our webinars this early. It is during this period from 7 to 8 a.m. where London session dark pools we're going to start seeing them come into effect. And as I've mentioned before, FINRA loophole, the SEC regulation loophole about the disclosure of dark pools permits institutions that have offices in other time zones, so London primarily, for them to not disclose their dark pool trade until, for 24 hours. They have 24 hours to disclose. And so here it is. And so the trades and the moves that happen during 7 to 8 a.m. Eastern can be trades that last, the entire day or longer, which is why I do these webinars this early. Because if there is the opportunity to get in on the move, that move can last a long time. If you take a look at, this trade from Tuesday, this happened at 7 a.m. This move lasted the entirety of the day. So this is the largest 15-minute buy candle that I've seen in recent history in this session. So we're gonna have to sit back and relax a little bit. And so again, it can be my system does require a lot of patience at times, and being on the right side of, as I say, the right side of history to really get in on moves. But this other long that was called before, it wasn't invalidated. And so there wasn't a reason to close it other than for the money and the accumulation range. And, of course, in retrospect, I should have left some runners on, but it's okay. We'll just let that play out, and we have to wait for an opportunity for our move to kind of be satisfied. So the thing that I'm going to wait for today, while I've had this area marked up, the way that the market has been reacting in this area does not really tell me that we're going to have a major short here, especially now that my bias is starting to lean more towards a long position. So I'm not planning on taking a short from this area, but rather I'm going to be using it as an area to potentially build our long position from. So if we can have a solid close over these areas on a 1 hour and ideally a 4 hour time frame, then we can start building for that overall move. So I'm going to use trend line now to kind of illustrate and visualize a couple of things, because now you have certain points to kind of use as reference. I like using wicks, but at times I will also use bodies. And so you can't really predict every time. That's why I don't use trend lines as a trade. It's not part of the trade system. Again, an illustrative tool. And so what I'm eyeballing right now are the angles of price action and how we have been kind of been treated in the past. And so we're not quite parallel in this area, but I'm gonna try and make them parallel. I really should just use the parallel channel tool. That would actually just be smarter. Let me just do that. So if I kind of just eyeball the way that this looks, we're not on, a weekly or any type of long-term. Well, actually, before I say that, I should actually confirm before I say that, because that actually might line up with, that might actually line up pretty close. See if that runs into anything. And again, this isn't like science. This isn't like a trade philosophy necessarily, but if it can help visualize anything, then I will use whatever can be used. So probably nothing in terms of that type of angle. So let's get back into our relevant stuff. So what I'm thinking and what I'm going to look for are going to be, if we are going to have continued shorts, which I think we will at some point. Essentially, the way that a counter trend trade for me, even on, in any type of time frame. So my VRS system is going to be, let's see. Sorry, Joe's asking a question. Do you always put 50-point stops, or can you go half the lot size and put a 100-point stop for that 0.25% risk? Some of my trades never really play out hitting stops depending on where you're getting. Yes, of course. So yeah, typically what I've been doing for Traders Exodus has been putting on these trades with 50-point stops. But the swings can have, larger stops. But a lot of the people here don't have accounts that can handle, a 300-point stop. You can't even put in a small enough lot size to take advantage of a trade like that. So I don't send those out as signals generally. But yes, absolutely. If there is a larger stop, you do need to reduce your lot size to maintain the same risk that I advocate for. For anyone new tuning into the channel, I'm always advocating for 2.25% risk. That's because I'm very comfortable with the RR that my trades make. At minimum, I'm targeting a 4R on a trade, and I won't take a trade if I can't make at least 4R on it. And if I can't make 4R on a trade, then I just won't take it. So yesterday's 22 and a 5R, so that's how it works out. Even with the 0.25% risk, it's a lot of money, and it grows very quickly. When there's extreme confidence in a trade setup, and I've risked in the past 10% on a trade. You guys should not do that until you have, the experience and the time to do it, or you are very, very sure that you're okay with losing 10% of your account. That's really, and as I've said, I'm not going to put the rules up today. I've put them out there so many times, but if you have to accept the risk. You have to be in total acceptance of everything that you do so that you actually let the trades play out. And so if you put on a trade and then you start looking at how much you've put up retroactively, you start thinking like, oh, you know what? I actually don't think that I want to risk 10%. Because you start doing the math and you're like, okay, well, do I really want to lose if you're on 100, if you have 100K? Like, do I really want to lose 10K right now? Like, would I really be okay with that? And if the answer is no, reduce your risk. Like, let go of the money. Let the trades play out. The way that I approach things is that I'm already expecting that money is gone. And if there's a win at the end of it, fantastic. I know this sounds kind of contrary to the, well, I've got very high confidence in trades playing out and going the way that I want them to. Yes, of course. But you have to detach yourself from the money. You have to really detach yourself from things. Because people that hoard things, if you cling on to things, you cling on to things for too long, they no longer serve you. They just ends up not being good for you long term. Because you'll let opportunity pass by just because you're being sentimental or anything of the sort, you know? So, oh, sad to see Sean go. So, you know, we're looking for these potential longs. I'm gonna say that I want to see some confirmation of the move. Now that I've missed the VRS, entry and letting it play out. I'm going to just wait for breaks of these ranges and wait for a lower time frame VRS entry to take us to other points. But what I was saying is that if this daily move, theoretically, for my system, there's theoretically going to be enough liquidity to take price to 32,350 per this daily move. And it could theoretically keep going further because we are in older and higher volume zones. So there could be enough to push us further than that. And as I was saying, and what I've said yesterday, and I'll say again today for the Dow, we had this run up that took out most people that were holding shorts in these areas. And then we had the run down. And so something like that can happen again. I'm not sure it's the most likely situation right now, given the way October is looking. Yeah, as I was saying, I'm expecting Red October, October to be referred to as Red October because I do think that it's going to be a bit of a bloodbath, and red selling. But what I'm thinking is the likely scenario right now is that we're going to get to 39.50 in this general area at 39.50, and then probably have a continued short. That's where I think we're going to end up. And, I'll focus a bit more on this impulse to kind of get me. Yeah, like that lines me up. So, try and paint the picture. Oh, good to see you back on, Sean. I was just saying right when you left, I was like, oh, sad to see Sean leave. So I think that we could have this push. This push could go to 39.50. And it's just part of my rules of my system that I could see us hitting that point, and I would be entering with confirmation, a short in that area. Everything looks good for a good short there. That's why I've left that zone kind of marked up still. So that could be the play. And in terms of this 4-hour impulse, lands us at 33.50. And if we weren't within this daily impulse, then I would say, any longs that were on here, if I were still in this long, that's where I would be taking positions out. But looking at all of this, these are kind of the moves that I think are going to happen after having all this consolidation, and the way that we've played out. So we're just almost hit take profit one on this push over here, and I'm going to watch out for volume throughout. We have about 40 minutes until our until was it CPI today? So that will introduce some volatility, and it might be why we have this nice spike here. So in any way, while that is a potential long-term idea, long-term being that could, you know, I mean, it's kind of at odds with the month of October because our final weeks of October, we've got what, 2 weeks left. I think that the more likely situation is for next week to have us somewhere in here, and then the drop to really just destroy October. But if a lot of volume comes in this area, or in this area is theoretically dark pool worthy, and I'm going to look at the order book today to see if we've have anything that's printed recently. But those are the long ideas. The short ideas, potentially we have the short from this area, and at this point in time, it looks less likely. Yeah, it looks pretty low probability that big shorts are going to be coming in this week, at least from this price. I won't be targeting much lower than 29,100 if a short does come in over here. For the same reasons that I'm measuring liquidity from impulse to impulse. The way that the volume looks over here is not really thrilling me for a big short. So no, that's not really the play that I'm going for. But this area over here, I could see a short coming in over there. So these are potential areas. And it's really going to be based off of how we start behaving when we approach the areas that I'm interested in taking the plays from, and that's going to be, these areas here. So if volume starts to reduce as we approach this area, and then I start to see sell volume increase again, then we'll take shorts from these points. I will take a short from here, somewhere like this, and I'll target this zone if this is going to be the play. And obviously we're going to be able to tighten up that stop, but that is going to be based on how price action looks by the time we get there. And again, I do think that if we have sufficient buy volume off these news events today and tomorrow, that we could end up pushing, up into these areas and really going for that nicer short at 39.50. So that lines up with a lot of things for me. So I'm pretty focused on that as a general concept. So we'll take a look at how that looks by the time we get there. All right. Let's see the S&P. So actually, now this is a bit risky, but the S&P and probably the NASDAQ are still at an acceptable price point for a decent RR on a swing position. Because this is still going to be a 4R trade if you want to swing this. And that would be about, and the S&P is different with lot sizes, so you can run, hold on 1 second. I have a small account that I'm working with, and I might play with this trade actually. This actually looks like it could be a good one. That person is on this call, so give me a second and let me calculate the risk for this potential trade. If I use the smallest lot size for this. S&P. So this could be a good one for the small accounts because S&P, the way that the contract sizes are versus the Dow, really are more favorable for smaller accounts. So this could be good. See what this looks like. They stop that I would be very favorable and safe at for this trade. I'll be generous and put a stop at 35,548. 35,443. Yeah, that could be a move. That could be a trade if this does end up working. Okay, so I'm gonna take a look at the S&P today, and I want to see price gonna break above this general area, retrace back into 3610, and take it from there. 3612. That would be target, and I will target, and this would be a swing trade because we could put on a very small lot size and not risk much on this trade, so that's cool. Yeah, that's cool. Go to, yeah, that could be a good trade. And we'll take it to take profit line that. If we just go to take profit one and be conservative, it would still be a pretty nice return. I think it's take profit two for that 4R. All right. Yeah, so that'll be this is actually going to be a pretty good trade. I'm pretty at this point in time pretty confident in this potentially working out. I'd like to get that validation of this take profit 3643 being hit first, but this looks pretty good. The volume looks right. I just want to see this 4-hour candle still finish off strong. So that's definitely in the books in a potential swingable or longer term trade, at least for the S&P. Just because the S&P is more favorable for smaller accounts, you can use like a very small lot size. The NASDAQ is not playing like the others. So this is more interesting, actually. That is going to change my potential outlook. We have two indices that are looking bullish and one that is looking more bearish. And sometimes the outlier can be indicia of where the market really wants to go. And in this case, it is the NASDAQ that is bearish being our outlier. And so maybe the market does want to continue bearish, and we are being freaked out right now. I'm going to wait for this news event, so we're not going to jump into any trades just yet, so we don't lose for no reason. But that is that I do like that S&P idea right now, and I do like these longs. They do look like good ideas on the Dow, so take a look out. Keep an eye on those. Let's get into Tesla. You can see this old zone. Volume indicator keeps popping up my charts. So this zone has been respected numerous times in the past. This is a very high time frame area that we've been playing with before, and you know, I'm not terribly keen on it as I'm taking longs from here based on structure, but if there's the right reaction and the way that the S&P is looking, we could be If I were in these shorts still, I would probably close them at the open of session. Because the trade has called, you know, that's like fantastic. um, it's fantastic. Right. Yeah, really good. Anyway, so let's look at GJ. Okay, so yeah, we did end up going long, like I thought, from that general area, and that's a good little play. The entry would have been seen here on the 30-minute. You have VRS entry primo. I think just at 7.5, maybe a little shy of it. Okay, so not quite per model, but this is still a trade I probably would have taken if I had watched this one more carefully. Um, I'd love to like draw it and make it fit. That's not true. But there's, you can see clear price action that supported that move. So again, this is what I was talking about early in session before I started recording. You have these, like what I'll call like pseudo breaks, where you have price action that's, breaking and then breaking more lows. And then people assume, okay, well, we've broken more lows, it's making lower and lower lows. I'm going short over here. That's an order block. And then just done. So having that bias, reading the bias and having it right, very important. And looking at that bias, I'm actually take a look. So I remember now that we have played with this. This is actually long-term bullish, and we had a long-term VRS entry on this. This is for the long position. That last entry would have been here, stop would have been down below, and it's approaching take profit run. So it's important to look at these high time frames that a lot of people aren't going to be looking at typically. And the way that I see this is that with those weeks of consolidation that we have had, this sharp drop was our prime entry for the long. So I'm going to say that this daily play is not going to work out. And so the long-term long position is probably still at play. And if you want a safe entry to join this move, I'd be looking somewhere. It wouldn't be this week. I would need to see this week close above this area. It'll probably close around 167, 300. I'd love to see it close at 168, 750. And if it does that, then wait for some days of consolidation at this level and then join long and take it to 183, 922. And that can take some time, but that's where I would be targeting. So that's my look on GJ. I would not be looking at the shorts unless you're going to day trade it. I think that for a day trade it's proper, but I think that the sentiment has changed. But if we don't break above and close above this zone, then the short, I'll go back and mark that up. short really should be from this point. And, you know, I could see I would be setting my I would set an entry if you want to get this is a no confirmation swing, very aggressive, but setting a stop at 170, 825, 170, 925 to be like really, really conservative. Entry at 169, 910, 914, and targeting first target of 148, 775. That's it's 4R, but this could be a bigger move, and that stop could maybe be tightened up. Larger stop than usual in terms of RR for that particular deep retracement because I'm anticipating the anticipation is a kind of run above these areas, and then the short confirmation would be the smart play for this move. But that could be the move. That could be the move. So that's something that I see when I'm looking at for GJ. Take a look at there's that still abysmal performance of AT&T. I've been talking about it all week. No triple bottom magic. Once in a lifetime thing that they've been talking about. We have had the drop. Oh, so that's nice. You can see that the kind of target, not the original or take profit one for this potential swing move has been hit, but a good target to be taking some partials and profits from has been hit. And now we're still building underneath this area. So waiting for price action to kind of give confirmation of structure would be wise in this scenario. Would be the wise play for sure. Does look like the short was respected from that area, but that could be a fake out. It could just be or getting ready for that push from this area here. And so this could be, if we weren't so close to news, I would say entry right over here, targeting $687. This could be a good bull day trade. Potentially. Liking a couple of these things here. So I'll be patient on that move. Oops, I haven't seen the chat. Let's see. Oops. Why does the scenario look so similar to that of US 30? Because the same institutions that are pushing gold, DOW, GJ are on a united front. And so you'll notice that structure has been very similar. If you look at a lot of the charts, you'll notice that after a certain point in time, this chart started looking very similar. This looks just like the Dow, doesn't it? And if you look at GJ, there's a point in time where our structure started reacting the same time period. Not that the candles look the same, but that when we've had drops and when we have buying pressure start, very similar on GJ for some reason. Must be a coincidence. That's sarcasm. So yeah, these are potential moves. We'll see if that plays out. I'm not really keen on these types of setups. I'd frankly be more interested in an entry down here for a while. To me, that looks better than this one. This looks all right too. This looks like this would be like a short continuation trade, and we'll see how that works. Thank you, Joy. Thank you, Alfonso. Oh. Take a look at Nifty. We've had a couple of, well, bit of buy impulses. We've had that short idea up top, which has probably been working. And, you know, said before though, we could see this push back into this area again. Although if we bounce from this area, I'm not going to be keen on another bounce back down from here. If somehow we end up bouncing from this area, as unlikely as that looks right now, the fact that it seems so unlikely makes me think it's likely. Might maybe see all-time highs next year if we see a bounce. Could be a thing. Could be a thing. We'll have to see. I'm really intrigued by GJ right now. So I might trade this today. I'll set my alerts for this. I know I have some people that are relatively new to TradingView, so you can right click at a price point. You can click add alert. If you have the phone app, it'll notify you on your app as well as on your computer. So keep note of that. And I think you can also set alerts down here too. So yeah, you can set alerts on your volume bars as well. I'm laughing at myself right now. It's hilarious. I don't know why I haven't been doing that. That's hilarious. Why haven't I been doing that? Okay, that's too funny. We didn't use TradingView at the hedge fund, so we had other software. Did not do that. Okay, let me take a look at my sentimental THB or USD THB. This is that swing, and this is probably going to be going down, unfortunately. So I got to get back to Thailand before it really starts to. Well, no, maybe not. Keep an eye out on this area. We see a bounce from here. We see a bounce from there, then we'll probably start heading up to levels that we haven't seen in millennia. Not literal millennia, but we'll be going to prices that we've been in since 2006. So really, if we push above this area, then break and retest, pop up somewhere around here. Maybe actually into this area. I like the way this looks. I could take a while. It's a monthly chart, so it could take a long time. We'll see how this works on the daily. The weekly chart is looking interesting. So you can see, like you got to let candles play out so you can have structure, especially when you're looking at higher time frames. Like the thing is that I'll have this be like the free support resistance lesson, and look at your line chart. Like these are your candle closes, right? But when a candle's open, you don't know of anything, right? So right now you have a candle close here and you think it's resistance, right? Where selling pressure is, but you don't actually know for sure. And you think that this is where buying pressure is. This is your support level for the candle close, but you don't actually know for sure. And so until another candle closes and you have respect of those ranges, and I don't think people really recognize that. It's like how I was, I'll go back to AT&T because this is the kind of one of the things that spurred the idea and lesson earlier this week about these retail patterns and all of that. Like this guy was talking about a triple bottom on the daily chart and saying it's a generational opportunity. He went long over here because he saw, I mean, to me, it's just patently incorrect, but he considered these bottoms for triple bottom. And look, this should be like a really clear for support and resistance trading. You don't know just because you have a rejection from a level that this acted like support, that you had some buying here. That doesn't mean that it actually is support. And so much in the same way with resistance, you don't actually know until you have more candle closes below that level. That when it comes to the level that you have closes below it. But it's not that hard. You don't get the best RR trading that way, but you can get 3R from it, from trading support resistance. But you need to have your closes. You need to have that confirmation that the move is for real. Like this 4-hour candle. I mean, this looks great. This looks bullish. It looks like it's going to just plow on through that level, but it might not. Like this looks like resistance up here, right? Because we had a drop, but if we come up to it and we don't close underneath it, then it's not really resistance, is it? Same as if this wasn't support until we had candle closes that closed and validated it as support and pushed up. We just don't know. And this is what I mean. Like most people are not patient enough to recognize that. I think that if more people understood that resistance doesn't come because of, like, it's not some magic barrier just because a candle has closed there or a series of candles have closed there. And same with like support. It's just, that's not how it works. But you know, let your candles close. Get your directions going. It's like, I don't know. Like this wasn't daily resistance until it was daily resistance. So we really showed like, okay, a couple days, like we couldn't really push above that area. All right, cool. Will it be daily resistance when we get there again? Maybe. Or we might just plow through it. If we have a series of days, I mean, like I said, the way that this looks to me, this is my classic reversal pattern. So I could see this happening. I'm not expecting just yet, a strong liquidity move like what we had during this time period, but we could. Thank you, Alfonso. We could. The other thing that's kind of supporting the idea that the short is going to come in somewhere, around 39.50 or what was I saying? Where did I have my mug at? 39.50, right? Potentially around these areas, potentially lower. I've even talked yesterday about a short coming in somewhere around here potentially. These areas are, I'm bobbing my head side to side so you guys can visualize. These are areas that this does look good. These do look good. Note that these two orange lines, these are monthly support resistance areas. So I give them a lot of weight as far as, the strength of the reaction that could occur at those areas. Okay, so at least on an hourly chart, we have closed above these levels. Nice. Maybe this will act as support for buying. I'm painting the picture, drawing across, let you all visualize something. Okay, I won't explain, just absorb and acknowledge and see. My students should be able to get this very quickly. All right. So let me set my alert for GJ, because this does look pretty good. Watch out for it if we get up here. And I know to have my alert for the Dow if we are going to come around here. All right. Let's take a look at Bitcoin. Ooh. At least for a daily move. Well, I'll just say as like a very surface level thing that if Bitcoin goes below 39.25, then that thing's gonna be done for a while. You know, uh, for my students, I'm gonna use two red lines to mark up the things you guys I've had you guys practicing, just so you guys can learn from this really quickly. Okay, so I'm gonna count 1 and 2. Okay, and then we can discuss that later. That's the way that cookie could crumble. But on our daily time frame, have our well, really, this shouldn't be the first one. First one should be half. Okay. So theoretically, we could be conservative and let this have a stop like right over here. But these stops should be tightened up at this point. So if price comes into there, stop could still be tightened up like that. And theoretically, to be safe, it will be down here, but it should be good to go right here. And based on the way this is all looking, I wouldn't be turning higher than this just yet. Anyway, that's Bitcoin. Not too much going on here. We've been really low volume, and this kind of does support the liquidity building concept. So maybe we will be ready for a push, but I think we could consolidate longer. But I also just think everything is super bearish right now. The way everything's been looking. Wait, this Euro USD looking kind of bullish. At least on this time frame. And so I'm going to continue this Euro. Didn't know how the way I had it. Just so I think that I'm more in alignment with this idea than the short. And so while that short has worked, the way that it's consolidated, we lost sell volume at the bottom, and buying volume is now increasing. Couple of ways to play this, couple of ways to view this. Could be a retracement back into this area and then to continue short, or this could just be a push to this area, trace down, and then we can consider whether or not the long will continue or the short will continue. So I think we could see some sort of reaction into that area. It looks like we already have a little bit, so maybe that's depleted. I was really thinking and looking at very long-term bearish outlook. But the way that things are looking right now, it could be having those buy pushes up. So let's see if we have, let me look at something. I don't think we've had any recessions that looked like this. I mean, we're in a recession right now. Let it be known, and let me be very clear about that. We are in a recession right now, but how do we do in October's typically? Not that every October is the same, not that every fall or every year is the same, but when there are similarities, there are similarities. So yeah, this October, uh, see, our structure is not quite the same. So it's hard to just look at this retroactively and say, yeah, we could have a couple bullish days in all or bullish weeks in October and then have the end of the month bearish. And you're gonna have to wait on this. I don't have an opinion on this just yet. Although on my model, we have hit take profit too. And well, no, that's right. Hmm. GSD is different. Hold on 1 second. Let me look at this just a minute. Gotta use the ticker that I use. Okay. Hmm. Yeah, these longs are looking better and better right now. Okay. Yeah, I'm probably gonna hop in on those longs. I thought that we had hit take profit too on my short. Doesn't seem right. Doesn't seem right. So on this impulse. Ooh, okay. I'm going to be switching to a long bias. Um, I'm going to be going for a long bias. I'm probably going to close most of my shorts by the end of this week. I'm going to give it a little bit of time to give me some structure up to these highs from last week. Let's see what we start doing around there. But I think we're going to be going and taking off. Yeah, we got CPI, so that's going to be our potential entry for the long. Depends on how we end up pushing. Depends on how we end up working out. So let's see it. Yeah, ready. Very interesting. We have a very nice session today, if I say so myself. So it's good. So it looks good for the short. I'm gonna wait. I'm not gonna take like a news event trade today, I don't think. Long might work, but let me get this out. See what we can technically do. Long could be good over here. That's a nice drop. And I'm very tempted to go long. Get that, get into structure. See that? I might do it. I might do it. Very aggressive. I mean, let's see. Let's see. See that volume on a 5 minute or 2 minute. be my last entry point, and stop would be down here. This would be for this bit of liquidity. Don't know. Don't know. Let it sweep. Lower. Be lower. Let's do this. If we push down over here, then we're like done. I think that is the safe play for the stop. But that's aggressive. That is aggressive. See this. Wish I took that short. Shoot. Yeah, that's right. That's huge candle. Huge. And I'm long. I have my stop set at 25,575, and I am targeting back up here at 25,600. I'm only putting 2.25 behind it, so don't go too crazy on it, but then that. And so take a look at the 4-hour, and let that boogie. And so I'm gonna give you guys an idea of why I took that. I got in at 28,275, and my stop is at 28,606, and I'm going to enter my friend over here on the S&P 500. The same trade. Let's type stop. Oh my goodness. Jeez. Bad mistake there. That could have been very, very bad. Jeez. Very careful, y'all. See my S&P. S&P is like that. Got that really poor structure. I mean, that's really bad. I don't know if this is going to work out. If you're looking at the S&P, I'll let it rip though. That 2-minute again. It's not good. It's not the best. it. I don't know. Let me give it the juice. That play. I'm not gonna enter my friend on the S&P long. S&P does not look good right now. Uh, that's not looking good. And interestingly enough, the Nasdaq looks good. All right. See. Let's see what we got here. Hmm. So label something. Look at. Retrospect. Just taking both trades. Hmm. Not taking both. This look pretty good, but I didn't think it was really going to drop like that during CPI. But I definitely should have given it a little bit more. Should have given it more credit for sure. But let's kind of see how this plays out. Um, that's interesting. That's interesting. And I think I might just close this while I'm in profit because now this is starting to look a little different than it was looking 5 minutes ago. And I have to react to the market accordingly. But also trying to give trade that I gave, that I put on. Like I knew the risk when I took it, so we gotta play, we gotta pay for what we play with. This does not look good for a continued long. So I'm gonna strongly reconsider this one. Decisions. All right, let me take a look at the S&P. So that is not going that way, but still does look like it could have that buy push. Nasdaq, they're all doing something different right now. Interesting. How'd GJ do? Nothing on GJ. And gold. For that buy, like I said, I wouldn't take that close to CPI. I'm glad I didn't. But I didn't. All right. So I'm gonna let this play, but look at Ethereum. Let's take a look at Ethereum. Ooh, very nice. Very nice. Interesting. Heck of a drop and a nice push back up. Interesting. Interesting couple of hours it takes to actually. Different bit of structure, so it's a little different. Different. It is related to USD creates chaos too and major crypto. Yeah, well they're traded by the same institutions. Yeah, it's not really a surprise. I mean, it's all the same stuff. Um, it's all the same stuff. Everyone's everyone's money is in the same stuff. So not too much of a surprise that that happens. Um, yeah, that's a fantastic drop. Now I'm definitely should have done that short, but I didn't think I didn't think we were gonna get it. I thought that we were actually gonna sweep upwards first. We haven't really had too many of those sweeps during news events lately. Actually, they've all been pretty much respecting current structure. So I need to adapt and change my approach because I've been anticipating the sweeps during these news events, and they haven't been happening. So have to adjust for that. That's a nice drop too. But this also does play into that theory that I've talked about. Um, that I've talked about with this will do anything in here. If not, howdy. Yeah, so this drop is, see, like, wow, that's fantastic. 800 points, man. It shows in that. Shoot. It's unfortunate. It's really unfortunate. We did do a little baby sweep. Baby sweep, but nothing crazy. We didn't take out that top line. One drop, that's fantastic. That's the candle. Yeah, that's nice. Yeah, wow. So let's see how this is. This is that's nice. It's really nice. Still have tomorrow to go too, but what this actually shows, for this right, that's not right. Yeah, for this week, it does show yesterday, Tuesday going into Wednesday, ended up being our high for the week, and goes to show you. I mean, I was anticipating that we were going to sweep that, and I didn't trade what was in front of me right there. So I don't regret that though. I don't regret it. It's okay. Frankly, I would be do something. It's not really how I would treat that. It's not really I want to see a 30-minute maybe, but it's it's interesting. It's interesting. It's interesting. All right, I'm going to take a break before our US session opens. I'm gonna hold on to that trade. Um, we are, that's interesting. It's really interesting. Um, quite surprised. I'm not totally surprised, but I really was anticipating a higher sweep of liquidity, and we just didn't do that. So, and just react and wait. I'm going to let this play. I like this. So I'm back in profit, almost. Almost back in profit. No, 20 points away. So that volume will pick back up like I think it will. Man. Trade. It's been a nice trade. All right. Anyone have any questions? Still sticking to what I've analyzed. Well, I didn't catch that. That's okay. I'm gonna stick to my guns here. Maybe this won't push up to these highs at this point after that type of a drop, but I'm still gonna ride this out and see what it does. I think that maybe it won't work out around 2,900 or 29,000. That's probably where I'm gonna see a reaction if this does push up that high. If it does do that push. If not, then you know we're all good. So this is, where's my stop? I have my stop at 28, little under 28,600. And I've done a 0.25% risk from this point, so it's not a crazy position. Too crazy, but write some things down in my journal about this because this is interesting. So if no one has any questions, I am going to take a break. Everyone enjoy your day, and we'll talk soon. I'll send signal today if we have one. We might not after having a move like that. So that's the honest truth for the reality right now. I'm in that long. I have that stop. I mean, if you guys held on to the trades from yesterday's webinar and secured those profits, then a 0.25% risk on this should be nothing because yesterday's was 22. So the day before that was really good too. I think that was also a 20 plus this move. So you think it'll drop again at the open? Tough to say right now. I actually think we might see the run up at the open. That's what I think right now. If not before that. See. These so my thoughts right now are that this move that we've just had, this drop, I think was to take out all of this buy liquidity that we had. I mean, that's, how many days of that? 2 days worth? 2 days worth of accumulation. I mean, we could even call it 3. So I mean, we took out all of the week's lows, created a new one, and maybe that means that we're going to be heading further south. So there's a couple of ways to interpret this. I don't have a definite opinion on this yet. I'm already in this long, so I'm going to go with it. 0.25% loss is fine. I know I've just been talking about minimizing losses, so but I'm gonna stick to this one. I still think that it could work. That this is still technically within my model. It's just a higher time frame trade, and it will take more time to play out. And being this close to the stop already is one of those things that makes it, like not as easy to hold. But you know what I say? The bold will hold, the weak will fold. So I'm gonna hold out on it. And if I take the loss, I take the loss. If I take the win, I take the win. But I am gonna be looking back on notes here, because this is interesting. We had something similar happen with actually with NFP, so that's why I'm going to be paying attention a little differently. We didn't have liquidity sweeps for NFP either, really. We just went into zones and took off. But profit right now. So let's close it. The last thing that people are going to be expecting at the open is buying pressure after a drop like this. And the thing that I want to note is that this drop in particular, it's a huge amount of volume actually. Off a little bit, we picked up again. Tough to say. Tough to say right now. No, do not drink coffee. Do not drink coffee. You must have missed my webinar about coffee. Don't drink coffee. I do not recommend that to anybody that trades. Do not do that. Pure water. Pure water. All right, y'all. I'll go into another rant about the coffee thing another day. I'll do it again. But yeah, we'll wait and see how we work out the rest of the day. This is pretty interesting. Pretty interesting. I like it. Like it. Yeah, I like it. Yeah, very interesting, Jesse. Thank you. Thank you for coming, as always. Appreciate you all. Yeah, it's an interesting one for sure. I love it. I love it. All right, everyone. Have a great day.